Hey, everybody. David Thompson here. Welcome to our weekly episode of Humble Beginnings. And our guest today is a good buddy of mine, Trevor Stringer. He's the owner of the Detail Lab here in Dallas, Texas. And Trevor, if the people like what they hear and they want to get to know you on a personal level or business level, how should these people go about getting a hold of you, man?
Probably the best way is going to be able to reach out to me through my Instagram account, and that's at the Detail Lab TX.
Right on. And we'll put some graphics up on the screen for everybody so you can see that. Well, let's dive right into it, Trevor.
Awesome.
It's always good to see you again, man. And
Good
we already got to
too.
chop it up about the misses. Congrats on that whole deal. So,
Absolutely.
In 5 minutes or less, man, tell us about your story and kind of tell us about your humble beginning.
So I guess my humble beginning would kind of start back with my mom and dad and our family back in West Texas, Lubbock. I would say that we have this thing called Stringer luck. So we have battled adversity since I was little. So my dad was a really great real estate agent. Sold a lot of homes in Lubbock. Became a really big name in real estate out there.
Okay.
He had a guy working for him, embezzled a bunch of money from him.
Nice.
So like from the get-go, we've battled adversity from every angle.
Yeah.
And we've always been able to kind of come out on top. But, we went from living in really big homes to moving into my dad's mother's house, which was like a really small 1-bedroom. Me and my sister pretty much slept in the living room on this huge king-size mattress. So we've had some humble beginnings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, but since all that, I moved to Dallas about 9 to 10 years ago, and I pursued personal training for about 9 years.
Mhm.
And the last 3 years, I've really been able to branch out and kind of do my own thing. I've always wanted to kind of be my own boss.
Yeah.
I've always kind of needed that. And I run my own high-end detailing business now, and I get to make my own day.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you get to work with some pretty extravagant cars and a pretty neat clientele base as well, don't you?
Definitely. I really got into the business, not really more so on the cars. It was more so on, I wanted to learn how to connect with these guys.
Yeah.
Because when I was personal training at Lifetime and all these other private gyms, I always heard them talking about their business relationships, what kind of businesses they were in, where's all their different money coming from.
Yeah.
And I always tried to rub shoulders with those guys just because I want to be that 6th millionaire. You hang out with 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th.
Right.
So I'd always tried to align myself with these either businesses or these type of people. And through personal training, I was able to do that. And I kind of branched that off into my detailing stuff because I was able to rely on those same guys. Hey, let me start taking care of your stuff.
Yeah.
And then kind of word of mouth, it kind of grew super fast.
Love it. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about business, man. I always love asking this question. If you could go back to when you started your first business and get one piece of advice, what's the one piece of advice you wish somebody would have given you when you started your business?
Care less about what people think.
Nice.
Absolutely. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, when we first get the idea that we want to go out and go do our own thing,
Mm-hmm.
we almost stay on these really small topics that nobody ever looks at.
Right.
For instance, you might beat yourself up for a week on your logo color.
Right.
Or the way your backdrop of your website looks. No one gives a shit about that. Go do the work. Almost fake it till you make it type thing. Because you got to put down the groundwork before all the other stuff. I always, it's one of these sales books I read is Apple sells software.
Right.
But the logo is an apple. It has nothing to do with what they're selling.
Yeah, good point.
So it doesn't matter what your name is or what the logo is or what the website looks like. It's if you're good, people are going to use you.
Yeah.
So I would say,
advice,
don't get hung up on the really small things when you first start getting going. Just go do the work.
Yeah.
And everything else will kind of fall in play if you're really about it.
Love it. Yeah. Well, I know you're definitely really about it. Very passionate about what you do.
Totally.
And, love your car too. I remember the first time you got it complete, you took a picture. You're I think it's so. What was it? You're we made what did you make? We made a Hot Wheels car or
Pretty
something.
much. It is 100% a Hot Wheels car.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I made it on a video game, and then I sent it off to a couple of guys here in town that could do some pretty wild stuff. And it kind of just grew from there.
Yeah.
It's been really cool though,
And
but
it's
it
really
just takes
cool.
forever.
Yeah, I know. Every time you take it out, it's one of those things. Every time you drive it, it's going to cost you some money. It's like a boat. Bust out another $1,000.
Like, what was that sound? What was that? Yeah,
that was another $2,000. That's what that sound was, Trevor, for sure. Let's talk about 2020, man. What was your biggest lesson that you took away from 2020? I know it was an interesting year for a lot of people. In your business, your experience, biggest lesson out of 2020.
So short and sweet. Going into 2020. I've never had like a shop, like a standing location. So at the end of 19, I kind of moved out of my house to kind of pursue like a shop location because I really couldn't grow my business anymore out of my house. It got to the point where like, if I'm doing Lambos and all the other stuff at the house, I can only have one car in there.
Right.
So it's like I was handcuffed. So I started looking for opportunities with vendors that I use, either powder coating guys or clear bra guys or tint guys. Hey, could I use some of your shop space?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of did that a little bit with Joe, which worked out well for a little while. But then like hail season came. I couldn't really be in there a whole lot. Like it's crazy in there.
Right.
So I kind of pursued a clear bra guy, and we had kind of came up with the idea that me, him, and a wrap guy, we were going to find a big, nice shop. We're all going to be in one-stop shop. You come in, drop your car off, we'd do everything.
Nice.
Going into that, it was all great.
In the beginning.
It was all great. And then the money starts coming in, and everybody's like, oh, well, he's counting my money. And like, we didn't have it really set up where we could really all trust each other. And if I could go back, look at that again, man, it's so important to vent who you're going to do business with.
Yeah.
Just like if anybody's getting married, you should probably live with your girlfriend for a while, for at least 6 months before like going into that. Because I really didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that like I was able to come out of that. I didn't, obviously my business is still running and everything, but I learned some really valuable lessons.
Yeah.
I can't depend on other people. I need to take care of my business and control what I can control. And if I can do that, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I learned out of 2020. So I got a shop. I'm over in Frisco. I'm like 15 minutes from my house. It's amazing. I've been able to build it up. And even though going through like a 2 to 3 month trial with those guys, it made me realize like the areas of business that I need to work on.
Sure.
So I think my main issue is like I go in trusting too much. Like you're going to handle your business. I'll run through the wall. You're going to run through the wall.
Yeah.
But a lot of time that doesn't happen.
Kind of like what you just said about the logo. Don't worry about what color the logo is, right? Don't worry about what I'm doing. Just run through the wall. I'm going to run through the wall. And you might have been running through the wall where they were too worried about what color the logo was.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I get it. So sounds like there were definitely some lessons learned in 2020. What would you say your biggest win was in 2020? What was your biggest takeaway?
Wow. Probably my biggest win. I'm not really afraid anymore to do anything. I would say the biggest win would be my self-belief.
Yeah.
Just because growing up, I always depended on my mom and dad for kind of everything.
Okay.
A lot of things. I was like the problem child. My sister's like
get out of here, Trevor.
My sister's like the one that's got everything lined out, and like when she turned 15, she had a job, and like my parents, I've always been the one that's needed all the help.
She got the halo, you got the hordes.
I did, and so I've kind of learned. I think when I turned like 20, I'm 32 now, but like really, I didn't really find out who Trevor was till like 27, 28.
Yeah,
and I need to learn how to control me a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I've been really working on is really more self-reflection, making sure that I think before I say something, really pulling the reins back on not being so a go-getter all the time.
Right.
Really thinking about critically before going out and going to do something. Is that something that's really going to help my business? Is it really going to help me long term?
Yeah.
Not just right in front of me.
And that's hard too, man. I mean, the old saying is true, right? Be slow to respond and what is it? Fast to pause and slow to respond. So and I'm the same way. Reactively, I want to say and do things. And
that word right there, I think I've been so reactive.
Yeah.
Because like I'm the go-to fix it. I want to help fix everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that fixer guy gets burned.
Right.
So that's what I've really kind of learned is like I can't be trying to go be Superman.
Yeah.
I gotta take care of me first.
Yeah. Right on, bro. I know from experience, because we were in a book study together for a while and did a bunch of networking and stuff. So I know you're an avid reader from experience, which tells me that you do a lot of book reading, a lot of podcast listening. Let's talk about role models, man. Cool. Who are your current role models? Who are you looking up to these days?
I think my all-time favorite role model would probably be Les Brown.
Okay.
I've got one of his favorite quotes on my arm.
Yeah.
Blessed and highly favored.
Yes, you are.
So I would say he's probably my number one, and I would probably say number two would probably be my dad.
Okay.
But when I can remember back in like fourth grade driving to school with my dad, all we ever used to listen to is those self-help tapes from Les Brown.
Mm-hmm.
So like I've just always had those kind of things ingrained, which I think what has helped me not only in like business world, but also in the sporting world is the mental game of business.
Yes.
Because it's just like working out. Like when that alarm clock goes off at 6 a.m, you're like, shit, I got to go work out, or I got to go to the gym, or I got to get out of bed. That subconscious mind, I think in the business world that plays the exact same thing is if you can control the negative subconscious mind things like, oh man, like you're having a terrible month, but like you're really not.
Right.
And like, as I think as entrepreneurs, we are so hard on ourselves, especially in today's world with like social media. We see all these other businesses and all these other guys doing all these big things, but like, it's all bullshit too.
Right.
Because not everything is, I mean, even the guys that I take care of, all these millionaires and billionaires, they don't love their life as much as you'd think they would.
Correct.
So.
Well, it's just like the 22-year-old girl that takes a selfie and puts it on IG, and everybody just sees the one pic. What they don't see is the 34 takes that she did before that and moved her hair and did her eyeshadow, and it's just the iceberg story, right? Everybody sees
the tiny little apartment that she lives in with all of her Gucci stuff.
I mean, it's just crazy. Everybody looks good on the outside and on social media. You never know what's going on inside.
Exactly.
So I really like asking this question as well. I ask it with a lot of my guests is being a business owner, any advice that you would give to somebody starting a business right now, March of 2020, probably shouldn't have said that because this will air a little bit later, but either way, March of 2021, best advice you could give to somebody starting a business today, what would it be?
I would say the most important thing is like, you need to have a really good foundation of like your self-belief because like at the end of the day, if you don't have the employees and it's just you, there's going to be months or weeks or maybe even years that you're going to feel like you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's like the hardest thing about starting a business is like, you think that you're not doing anything, but like, if you really take a step back, like, you're doing so much more than what that normal person is doing.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, I have to like constantly tell myself that, like, man, I really wish my business was, I wish I was doing $30,000 a month. And it's like, there's consistency and patience. Like, it just like, you have to be so consistent. And especially with social media and Google and SEO and all that other stuff that is involved with like, getting a business going online and everything. It's like, the consistency is literally the algorithm.
Yeah.
Like you need to be consistent, like in every aspect of it. Like even if you're doing shit, like you still just got to bust it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when you and I got together and we first talked about your business model, I said, how do you get your business? You looked right at me. You're like, social media, David.
Yeah.
Facebook and IG. I mean, I'm just blasting content all over it.
All the time.
And then once you build up that base, that clientele, then obviously a lot of your business comes
It's free marketing. That's what I try to tell everybody. Yeah. It's like, why aren't you doing a story?
Because people don't know how. They don't know, what to put on there, and they don't know that they should be.
And they get scared.
Yeah.
It's like an uncomfortable thing. It's like, and I try to tell a lot of like teenage guys this is like when you're doing stories, you're talking on camera, most of the time, like just like when me and you are going through there looking at people's stuff, you might watch it for 2 seconds.
Right.
So like not every single word has to be said right.
Correct.
And like it's just like we get mixed up in like, oh my God, I didn't say that right. Or like, oh, I wasn't holding the camera right. Like,
It's got to be perfect.
Just do it.
No, it doesn't, right? I would rather have flawed and done than perfect, but not done.
Exactly.
Incomplete, right? Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
you can see the same thing on like YouTube guys. You can see like, when they first got onto YouTube, their sound quality is terrible. The video's shaky.
Yeah.
But like they stayed consistent with it, and you see their followers go, and then everything kind of just changes. But it's just like constant reevaluating of how you're doing stuff, consistency, and then the patience is what the most hard thing to control.
That is hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of what you said too, I think that we're our own worst critic, right? And if I'm measuring my chapter 1 in business against somebody else's chapter 20, I'm going, why is he so much better and further and more advanced than me? Because he's been doing it 19 years longer than you, ding dong. But I don't look at that, right? I want to really, really hone in on my flaws and not the areas that I have to grow. And I think that that's a huge problem with a lot of people starting a new business.
Yeah, they get, it's, I forget the saying, it's, you just get hung up on the small things.
Yeah.
It's like, really, you don't need to.
Right. Absolutely. Awesome, bro. Well, we appreciate you coming out here, man. Thank you for your time,
Thank
Trevor.
you.
I think it's been great. And again, guys, we're going to put his information up there. If you guys want to get a hold of him, it's Trevor at the Detail Lab. We'll put his stuff up there. And y'all have a great week. Until next week, y'all stay blessed. Take care now.